The next type of CSS selector that we're going to talk about is the attribute selector. In the attribute selector, we have the ability to form really complex HTML element selections based on the attributes that an HTML element has. In our example here, we have the ID of main nav, and we did an ID selector. We've done class selectors, and we've done just regular type selectors. And now we're going to focus on how do we select elements that have a very specific attribute or attribute with a specific value. And we're going to do it in those two different ways. So let's start off adding some attributes to our HTML elements. In this situation right here, we already have a couple of attributes already set on our HTML elements. In all of our sections, we have title attributes set. In this first one, we have main header, we have a title, which is main body, we have a website info, we have a getting started, and we have a production deploys, and we have deploy previews. Traditionally, a developer may want to put, or may actually have these as IDs because they refer to specific sections in the page. But using titles is a really good way to avoid having a bunch of IDs that are super unique in your page that you have to try to make sure remain unique. Instead, we can use titles. And in this case, we've got section with titles, and we may want to style one of these sections different, with the understanding that we could have multiple sections of the same type or with the same title inside of the page. And you might run into a situation like that. Right now, we're building some pretty contrived examples, but hopefully this will help you understand where we're going with attribute selectors in CSS. So in this case, we've got website info, we've got getting started, we've got production deploys, and we've got deploy previews. And what we can do with our attribute selectors is we can select a particular HTML element based on an attribute or having a particular attribute. And then we can also do it based on the specific value of that attribute. So let's start out with just the attribute. Let's find all elements that have the attribute title in them and are set up in our HTML with titles. And we'll go to the bottom of our CSS, and let's go ahead and select based on title. Now, the titles are specifically, the ones that we want to mess with are specifically on our divs, so our elements of type div. And so we're going to start off with a type selector of div, and then we are going to say all divs that have a title attribute, we want to provide a style on them. And that style is we're going to add a border to those elements that's 1 pixel thick, is solid, and uses black. We'll just do black. Again, we're looking for all divs, and only the divs that have a title set are we worried about. So if we go back to our HTML, go back to our home page, which is where all those are, we'll see that every single div that has a title set on it now has a border that is in black. Now, all of them kind of butt right up against each other, so we're going to go ahead and add some padding to them. We'll do 5 pixel padding and see what happens. Now, padding is interior, so we don't want padding. We want not our padding, not our border. We want margin. We want to add margin to it of 5 pixels. There we go. So now we've got margin between all of those, which begins to separate those boxes. And really, we only want the margin on the top and bottom. So let's do margin 0 pixels, and then let's change that to 10 and see if we can get some more space between them. Oops, I reversed it, so we want 10 right there, because that's going to be top and bottom, and then left and right. All right, excellent. So now we've got that, but again, our text is touching those borders. So let's add padding back that we had before. Let's do 5 pixels. And now things aren't touching the sides. So here we've selected all divs that have a title attribute, and it doesn't matter what the title attribute is, it's just any one that has a title. We're going to go ahead and we're going to add that styling to it. Now we can also do it based on the specific value inside of that title attribute. So right here, let's go with our website info. I've already got it highlighted, so we'll do website info. So let's do an attribute selector on that, and let's look for all divs that have a title, and that title has the value of website info in it. And then let's change let's do its background color so we can really see the change or the effect we have on that. Let's change that background color to beige. Let's go back to our page, and we'll see right here the website container, which is exactly what we're looking for, the website info. It identifies the div that has a title set, and that title is set to website info, and then it changes the color to beige. So let's go ahead and highlight that container. And here we can see that CSS selector. We're looking for a div where the title equals website info, and we can see that only this one has it. If we select any of the other containers, we will see that its style just has to do with the title itself, but not the value of title. So here we've been able to select an attribute, and we've been able to select a particular attribute with a specific value in it. Now there are a lot of other ways to use this attribute selector in combination with wildcard selectors. And we haven't gotten to wildcard selectors yet, but we'll get to those in the future, and you can think about all the cool ways you can actually apply wildcards to the use of attribute selectors once you've learned about the wildcard selectors. But for now, we understand how to pull all elements with a particular attribute set, and then we can pull all elements that have an attribute set that also contain a particular value in that attribute.